Today, I'm just going to focus on a couple of really important ideas. Working memory, right? How do you get this stuff out of the warehouse and into the memory so it's on the tip of your tongue, you can easily remember and you can know what you're going to say. And then chunking. You know, a chunk just means a big piece of something. Chunking is what we use to compress information in our brain, right? We chunk information into groups. So for example, when you think about the concept of my house, you don't think about every single thing in the house. So my house is a big chunk and it includes many small pieces. And it saves you a lot of time, you know, instead of describing, oh, yes, I have a building and the building has a front door. You go into the front door and there's a living room and a kitchen and a bathroom. There's a bedroom and you don't have to say all that stuff. You just one chunk, my house. And everybody understands what that means. So chunking is a strategy that you can use to make communication easier. Again, what we were talking about before, when people have that, you know, student mentality, like I have to get everything right on the test, what you're doing is you're chunking word by word. So every single word and every single phrase and every single, you know, grammar rule, these are all tiny little pieces and they all have to be right for the test. But in real life, people don't talk like that. And most of the people listening right now, I'm sure you have experience communicating in English where it goes very slow. You try to say every word exactly right. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of mental processing, a lot of energy. So if you chunk by the idea, rather than word by word, just the big idea, you know, like I live in a house. I live in a house. It's 5 words, but it's just one idea. And so people don't communicate word by word. Actually, if you think about how you speak Chinese, it's exactly the same in every human language. You chunk by ideas. You know, when you're talking to your friend, you simply say, I have a new house. It's just one idea. And anyway, so it makes communication a lot more smooth, a lot easier. And intonation is an important thing. Intonation is about making yourself easy to understand. When you use idea chunking, when you have everything in working memory, it's very easy to understand. And in fact, you don't even have to learn intonation because it just comes naturally. These are the 7 steps to smart preparation. We only have a short time today, so we're just going to focus on 3 of the big things. We're going to activate working memory, kill nervousness, boost confidence, and work on connecting with your audience better. So let's look at this a little closer. I noticed in the business world, there are a lot of people, for example, you know, people from European countries, people from Eastern Europe, Russia, UAE, and they are not native English speakers. And sometimes they make mistakes when they're talking, but they just don't seem to care so much about making mistakes. And again, the reason for this is that they're much more interested in the communication. They just want to deliver the information. They want to do a good job, you know, connect with people, make sure the information is understood. If they make a little mistake, they just don't mind so much, you know, European people, right? And then if you compare that with East Asian people in the business world, it's amazing. Over the past 20 years, I noticed that Asians get really nervous. You know, Japanese, Taiwanese, South Koreans in particular, that these are the people I have a lot of experience teaching. They get so nervous, right? Because of that test-taking mentality. And then they end up feeling all kinds of shame and, oh my God, my English. And it becomes a vicious cycle, right? They make a mistake. They say, oh, my English is bad. And then I'm not good enough. They feel that nervous energy. And then every time they go to speak English, that nervous feeling comes up again. It's kind of a loop. These guys don't care. You know, they don't worry so much. Why should you? You don't have to worry either. The goal of communication is to be understood, right? Is to share information. And so that's the point. It's not a grammar test. It's not a vocabulary test. As long as you can be understood, you have succeeded. So I want you to know that I understand the problem. I understand how it feels, and I understand that mentality of really wanting to get it right. Let's analyze the problem a little bit more deeply. Why is it so hard? I realized that, the process of learning English, the way you did it in school, many of you have been studying English for like 10, 15, 20 years. What you do is you cram information in your head and you try to, remember it so that you can put it out on the test. What happens is you end up with a lot of English in your minds. Most of you think that your English is not that good. The thing is, what happens when you pack information into your brain like this is it ends up just getting stored in sort of unusable files, like zipped up files in your brain. Then you go to have a presentation and you're like, oh, what was that? What's the right word? I can't think of the word. What's the correct word order? And you're trying to remember this stuff. You're trying to pull information out of the warehouse in your brain. And that makes it really difficult. I give a lot of strategies on how you can pull that information out of the warehouse and put it into your working memory. So it's available for you to use. There are many techniques to prepare yourself for your presentation so that whatever you're going to say, you already know it. You don't have to go searching and try to find the right word every time. So let's make it easier. All right. English is not a test. It's a tool. Okay. It's a tool for you to use. Language is for sharing, connection, understanding. I think you guys get the point, right? It's not about getting everything perfect. It's about getting an idea across. Language it's human, which means you can do it, right? You do it every day in Chinese. You can do the same thing in English. Doesn't have to be perfect to be interactive. You can be playful. You can have fun. You can make money using English. All this stuff happens, and you definitely don't have to be perfect. Not at all. Think about the Europeans with very bad English, and they're doing just fine because they just don't have the same culture of, the test.